wide shot is probably the most common shot in narrative filmmaking, because our master shot is invariably it's going to be the wide shot, and most of our establishing shots are wide shots because, of course, we want to see the scene, we want to see the space. And it's our safety shot. It's like, if you ever get in trouble in the edit, you jump back to the wide to cover space or to do something to save the edit and help propel the scene. Now, as the safety shot, wides they tend to be maybe a little boring. So whenever we can, we like to set up a wide shot so that it really lends itself to the story and also is visually interesting. So here's an example of a few wide shots that I've taken over the years, and then we'll break them down one by one.
I'm gonna lose my mind, might not make it out this time. I'm choking on every breath. They tell you that life's not fair. Well, it's not heaven I'm looking for, but I can't take this mess no more. If the water keeps rising high, I won't make it out alive. In over my head, in over my head. I've been locked up, knocked down, pushed around, scared as hell I might be till I'm dead. In over my head, in over my head. I can't breathe, can't see how I'm ever gonna leave it. This hell that I'm living in. In over my head, in over my head. I've heard it all before, but can't see the light no more. This fear's rising up in my chest, and night never brings me no rest. Oh, my throat's too sore to scream. Can't nobody wake me up from this dream. If the floodwaters don't recede, well, I swear they're gonna bury me.
Now, about these shots. Our hero is being dragged over to the hot seat, and we start this scene with a wide shot, of course, in the space that we haven't seen before. Now, we actually filmed in an old warehouse, which was empty, and the art department, of course, did their job and gave us these elements that we're dollying through. This is a walk and talk with our two young actors on skateboards, and this time, I covered it with a wide lens as opposed to a super telephoto. We shot this in a very narrow passageway with our widest anamorphic lens. And, I feel if we used our telephoto lens, it just would not have had that sense of like, where are we? What's going on? That, again, starting small in frame with the wide really helped establish. The camera is on the deck for a couple of reasons. One is to show that the space with the ceilings and the walls and everything, and to show how big and empty it is, because on the next shot, two new characters sort of magically appear, and we actually cover that with a telephoto lens. The camera is a little lower in height. We're shooting on baby legs, and we are also filming outside in the fog. The whole scene was backlit with a 4K HMI. This was kind of fun in that we had our wide shot and our close-up all in one shot at the same time. Now, we filmed this inside a science museum, and, I was able to back up the camera a bit, but it was just a great space to work in. This is an establishing shot of a building we're about to film a whole bunch of scenes in, including a fight scene. And I put it here because on one hand, it's a very mundane shot, and I've always liked it, and I think it has to do with, with the sky, the cloud cover, and also just the texture and the color of the building itself. This was a real building. It wasn't art made by the art department. This was an existing building on the exterior. So, I like it. This is a wide shot to really show off the location. This was just a unique and visually, exciting location to be in. It's just an old salt processing plant. But anyway, that's why we have these shots sometimes. The climax of this scene was, of course, done digitally, and we're just covering it with a couple different wides. Here, we're just showing off a visually fantastic location, and that's why we just went wide. It was just epic. Now, besides low shots, slightly high angle shots can really add to a scene. Sometimes your master shot plays out as a oneer. Now, we of course shot some mediums and tights of this scene, but in post they decided to just let the scene play out, and that's great when it works. This three shot was the master for this scene. Now, I put it in here just to show how, sometimes you frame things, not so typical. In this instance, the foreground of the table. And to me, that just like visually represented the divide between the husband and wife. And, right in center is the younger brother who's orchestrating this nonsense. The camera is on the deck again, just again to capture this space and help portray the power and the wealth of our character. This is a basic functional wide to show our background, which of course was a CG composite. Kids playing stickball in a field with a real rainbow in the background, you just want to get this wide. These are two establishing shots for this scene, and again, we're just placing our characters in their environment. For this, we went from low to high on our wide angles to really give some information that we're at a heliport because that plays later in the scene. This was shot in a pretty tight office space on top of a baseball stadium, believe it or not. Now, the challenge here was, with just a tight spot and, careful framing, not showing left, not showing right, but to try to make the space look as epic and impressive as possible to represent, intelligence network. This wide was filmed with a fairly normal focal length lens, and that was, of course, to minimize the distortion on the house, because I was framing for symmetry and just wanted the lines as straight as possible. Now, she's small in the frame to, again, emphasize her solitude in this relationship. This is a simple establishing shot for a scene filmed in a rowboat, on the beach. I'm using an old fisheye lens here just to try to capture the space of an old abandoned factory. Again, just to emphasize the isolation and desolation of our character as he is about to meet his end. This shot introduces us to an indoor skate park where a good part of this TV show played at. Now, the GoPro shots are here just to show you the space and to show you how we're just kind of up against the wall on a big bowl, but the camera was low on the deck on a tube dolly pushing in, and I really kind of hope the editors had let the shot run a little longer, but, it is what it is. Well, that about wraps it up for wides, and thanks for watching.